Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Failing Daily. I'm happy to have Dondre Lawson, the CEO of Emerald Technical Solutions, owner, entrepreneur, and also we're going to learn a little bit about. He's also a founder of an opportunity, a business called Defense Interns, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So, thanks for coming, Dondre. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little background?
U.S. Army veteran, number one. Started Emerald in 2019. I had previously worked for some larger defense contractors, essentially being a technical cowboy. We were doing zero trust in cloud before there was cloud, right? Citrix, VMware, hypervisor, HP, 3PAR, NetScaler, building hyper-converged platforms for different customer bases that needed to utilize a development environment remotely from anywhere. And so I built a lot of my technical skills from there and decided to go and start a business and become a business owner, which we had breathed Emerald Technical Solutions out of. Just been in the technology space for some time now, and looking at new ways and critical ways to still chase additional work with the government.
So how did you get into the intern thing? How'd that get going? And what is that?
I went to in 2022. I went to a symposium for high schools out of Harford County, Maryland, and they had just started their apprenticeships program for youth. And then we were one of the pilot companies in that, and we were able to pick up a young lady named Zil Patel. She helped develop and build and implement, our initial level of CMMC controls. We knew what controls needed to be turned on, and we gave it to her as a project. And I think that's where I really got interested with interns in schools, because, for one, the CMMC certification is outrageous and does cost a lot for someone to come and implement it. And the students from Harford County Public Schools have just been wonderful, right? We were able to build and implement most of the controls for our organizations, and most of it was done by interns. Obviously, it was still checked by some seasoned cybersecurity professionals, but just the technical controls were implemented by the interns. And now we have a good partnership with the school system, and it's just as good as any partnership if I have with other government contractors, because some of the students, actually just yesterday, one of our current interns, Jake Steinmiller, he passed Security Plus, right? So I have 18-year-olds passing into Security Plus and cloud certifications. And it's really cool to see.
That's cool. Well, I'm going to get back to that because I'd love to see. Well, I mean, how long you said that 2022 you started doing that? So you're 3 years in?
So 23 is when we kicked off the program. Okay. And so we're going into the third year of the program now.
Okay. All right. I'll ask you some more about that. I actually love that. That's half entrepreneur, half giving back, half to whatever. That's good. Yeah. Great opportunities for people. I love it. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Outside of work right now, not a lot. Just working, working and playing with my kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm really engaged too with the Maryland National Guard. So a lot of my time has been split between work and then working with the Maryland Guard, and helping them kind of shape and work on some recruiting efforts, and then really some other technical projects that they've put me on. And so that's kind of where my time is split. I have 6 more years left with the Guard, and then I'll be able to retire at 38, which would be great. Retire the first retirement. But that's where a lot of my time is, trying to learn how to get better at golf, because everyone is golfing. So playing a little bit of golf here and there, and then really focused and working on self-betterment, right? Health is number one, and trying to do those things.
That's great. Those are all good things. So can you tell us a little bit about can you pick your biggest career accomplishment or an important career accomplishment?
Oh, that's a hard question.
You're welcome to do something that's not career too, or I might ask you that next, but something else that was important.
My first biggest career accomplishment was being able to hire my COO, right? And so my COO previously was in charge of me when we worked for one of the large primes, and she is one of the most organized persons that I've found, and that really helps me because I'm just all over the place, right? I'm chasing this. We got the interns, we got CMMI, CMMC. We're bidding on contracts, right? We're doing a lot, and Crystal really comes and organizes a lot. And I think in business, when you start to pick up additional folks, or you're reaching out, you're like, I really need Bill on my team. Like, I can't do this without Bill. And then actually being able to see it happen and come to fruition, to me, is probably biggest accomplishment number one.
I think you gotta give the guy credit, Dondre. Check it out. His number one accomplishment is hiring great people. I think that's an important part of who Dondre is, and maybe it's a good lesson for all of us.
Number two, we invested some money into a tool called MilRez, which should start helping military members transition out of the military, because it's a long, lengthy process. You go through TAPS, you try to figure out what you're supposed to do. And some people are like, I just want to go work out of Florida, retire and do X or Y, but that process is lengthy. And so we've been able to leverage AI to help with that, without saying too much. And that's probably my second biggest accomplishment for career-wise. Is second biggest accomplishment as well. And then, in the military, becoming a senior NCO and really just being able to give experience and advice out to other people.
Right. Is MilRez a product you built? Is that what that is?
Yes.
It is. Okay. All right. Is that something that folks can look up and go participate in and go buy right now, or has the government bought it, or
not yet?
Or do you not want to talk about that yet?
No, that's fine. I mean, not yet. That's step number two. I think there's a lot of people that are creating tools for soldiers, and they're not actually a soldier. They haven't been in a situation where they run into issues, right, as a soldier. And so we're close to getting funding. And once that comes in, we will be hard charging with that. And so, I like sharing things. And so for us, it's, it took a while to get there. But it's more of a passion project for me, right? Like, even if it doesn't bring us a ton of money, but it actually helps that piece of the military and that's what's going on everywhere, right? It's like, we need a contractor or we need a person to come in and make this process more efficient and better, right? Can someone help us, right? And if the process internally for people that manage and help run the organization is wrong, then how are you going to do other things? And so for me, it was like, this is simplicity, or this is simplistic. Let's build it and see if we can help people.
That's great. So on those accomplishments, I don't know, what kind of lessons did you learn from them?
Number one is you have to select a group of people that you can actually trust. Trust goes a long ways, not just for your business and the partners that you work with, but also the people that are in the organization. Being transparent with everybody, letting everyone know what's going on. I think that for me is the number one thing, like the top grossing thing. Like, the building could be on fire, and I know that if Crystal's going to handle it, or Phil, our CTO, is going to handle it, and I don't have to worry about it, right? I don't really have to worry about that part of the business because the trust is there, right? And it's been established. I think that's probably the biggest thing, honestly. People, you can figure out, again, and I'm speaking in career sense, like, you can figure out how to chase work right after work, win work or not win work, learn from the work you didn't win, whether you failed, but there still has to be a team of people that are like, hey, I'm ready to do this and attack this thing and go after this. Let's move out, right?
Well, you listed a bunch of things in there that could go wrong. How about for you? Can you tell us maybe about one of your biggest failures?
This is a double failure. This is knowledge and not knowing. It was like 3.5 years ago, and we had a lawyer, but that person wasn't on retainer. It was just, I would call them if I needed something, like, at that moment. And I signed an agreement for a contract from an environment that I came from, right? And when I left, I was the lead engineer on that project. So I knew exactly what the customer was asking for. We had looked at the PWS. We knew what was going on. And I signed a deal that, not willy-nilly happy, signed a deal and ended up getting essentially put on ice for people that know what that means. If you don't know what it means, you're getting taken off the streets because you're too valuable to someone else's team. And ultimately screwed myself out of being on an $89 million contract, right? On a system that I built and my COO managed. So the seed rules, the financials, the project management plans, how the software was developed, we had all that information and knew all of it and got put on ice, man. And I ended up dropping off the team because of once the lawyer came in and looked at the document, it was like, you're not getting any work share on this. Like you're not getting anything, right? Like your name is there, so you can't go bid on anyone else's team.
There's a big lesson. Make sure you know what you're signing. You don't want to learn that one too many times.
And that could have been, Emerald's we're still doing fine, but that could have been a really Cinderella make or break story for us. Hey, we started a business. We went back to the place where we were responsible for a lot of different engineering tactics, and then we won the contract, or we were at least on a team with a large work share of that contract. And I think my first, feeling was anger. And then it's a learning lesson, right? It's a learning lesson, and kudos to the person that got me to sign it, because there was them kind of mitigating risk, right? When they were doing it, like, hey, we want to make sure that Dondre is not available to anyone else. That is my biggest mistake by far in business to this day. And that's just knowledge and training and understanding that everyone in the space isn't really friendly, right? There's some people, but some people cannot be friendly.
So feels like there's a lot of pieces to that. So do you think the lesson is more tactical or technical? Like you need a lawyer and you have to understand what a teaming agreement does for you and what work share is, or is it more about you got to have a relationship with a company and understand who you're dealing with, so it's like a person to person kind of thing, or is it both?
I think that tacticality behind process is what people need to pay attention to. I got yelled at yesterday, right? We had 2 positions that we're supposed to fill, and I'm like, hey, I know we have resumes right now of people that can fill it, and but we have to go through a process. We got to put a JR out. It has to be fair, right? And so old me is like, get it, put the resume in there, send it over to the prime. And that's just not how we do business now. And so you have to have processes in place behind everything that you do. And it's hard to build those processes when you're a 1 to 2 person company, right? 1 to 5 person company. You're trying to figure out what do all these things mean? What does ISO mean? What does CMMC mean? What does CMMI mean? If I would have just slowed down a little bit and sent it to the lawyer, right? Because I still had the lawyer, so the legal team, and had them look at it, they would have said, hey, that is a problem, right? Or hopefully they would have caught it, right? Hey, that is a problem. You need to go talk to them. And I think just having actual drilled down processes in place for how everything works is the best thing that someone can do, right, when they start their business.
So I was going to ask you, what's your bounce back from that? And maybe that's an emotional question, but is part of the answer have you established processes?
Yeah, definitely. Really, for me, was I needed some time to come back from it, right? And that in that particular case, because it was like, we know the customer, we have a good relationship with them, in and outside of work. We know the problem set. We know the work. We think we have potential solutions to that, and I couldn't bid on it. I couldn't do anything. That took a while. It took a while to come back from.
Because I'm feeling your pain, having been there many times. You kind of had a throwaway sentence in there. It took a while to come back, and you were talking about the couple months of just and I'm thinking about that emotional part of it. Was there a moment when you were like, all right, I'm over this? Like, I'm just curious. Like 2 months after, you're like, all right, you know what? I can't spend any more energy. Like, what did that happen for you, or are you still? Because I have a few things that are still with me. I'm not sure I'm ever going to let them go. Which one is this?
It did. I think I've letting it go now.
Yeah.
The problem was like the scab kept getting ripped back off when I had other companies reaching out to us and say, "Hey, we want to partner with you on this. We'll give you 49%." You get over it. You live and you learn. And I think for people that are very tunneled vision on, and some of your lead BD, famous people might disagree with me, but people are like, hey, focus on one agency, right? If you're like, well, the agency I was focusing on, this just happened to me. Now I need to go maybe pivot and look to see where my capabilities can help in another place. And look around, because there's tons of, even with everything that's going on, there's tons of government work available for small businesses, right?
Humor helps me. This is why my whole thing with this is like having a good laugh about how stupid we are sometimes, kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, this isn't humor, but you deserve credit, and I don't know if you realize it, but you deserve credit. It obviously didn't even cross your mind just to break your agreement and go work with the other company. You probably could have gotten away with it. There's a lot to that, but those agreements are only so enforceable. But you didn't even consider that because you have integrity. You signed an agreement, and even though you screwed yourself, you're going to stick to your agreement. But I think I'll give you credit. That was going to hurt you hard. And you stuck with it. That was the agreement I signed. I've done those. So there's a reason I sign every teaming agreement that I do, regardless. I think it's one of the last things I approve 100% in the company. But that's a great story. Can I shift over a little bit? Talk a little bit about leadership with you and your experience. So you can include, obviously, there's your whole life experience here. It's Army time, business time, but what's your general philosophy on leadership?
Stacking leaders is something that I have done really well, because not everyone is good at everything, right? And so I have gotten really far with utilizing different people for different scenarios in a leadership aspect of, especially for military. Hey, when you're a junior enlisted person and you're trying to figure out, what you should do next or what you should go, a lot of people kind of go at a leader that is similar to them, may look like them, and that's kind of where they fit. I personally think that is limiting yourself, and that you should look, holistically at, okay, I want to improve my finances. What type of person do I need to talk to improve my finances? Hey, I want to learn how to lead a group of people or brigade or division level. I need to know who's done it in the past, right? I just posted something on LinkedIn about CMMC, because we're very deep in it. We're preparing ourselves for our actual DIPCAC audit. And so there's a bunch of people out that's giving CMMC advice. They don't have assessors on their team. They're not certified. They themselves haven't gone through an audit, and they're giving advice. How can you tell me about playing in the Super Bowl if you've never been to the Super Bowl? You have to look at leaders that have experience in the places you want to go to, right? When you start to look at who's your leaders and the people that guide you into the place you want to go, you gotta really be selective, right? Because there's great people, but if I'm like, hey, I'm looking at, and I'm enlisted, right, in the Army, and I'm like, hey, I'm looking at these 4 particular sergeant majors that I want to emulate, and potentially, if I get to that rank, right, which one would I like to emulate, not act like, but what traits does that person have that I think are really good for how I lead? And I think picking off traits from people and stacking leaders can be really beneficial to someone when you think about what leadership looks like.
I love, and I've never heard, and I love the stacking leaders. Like I love that. I think you're saying you're the guy that's your leadership style is to stack leaders, but I just want to ask you, because I'm not sure you said, what is your leadership style? Just you personally.
I like to be, I'm passive aggressive, right?
Okay.
No, I'm joking. I'm patiently aggressive. And what I mean by that is I may say, hey, can you guys knock this task out? And I'll probably do it with you, right? I don't also expect people to work like that. And I think that type of trait in being a leader is like, you can't expect people to work like you, but you have to know how they work and you have to fit that into your schedule, right? If they work on a particular type of time frame or time wave, you got to know how to sync with that person and say, hey, not everyone is as crazy as Dondre and Bill. They're not going to do it immediately. Just if it's 2 days, then you know in your mind that they'll get to it in the 2 days, unless it's urgent, right? Unless it's like, hey, this data call is urgent, we need it tomorrow, or it's like, hey, this isn't due for 2 weeks, and so you know you should roughly see something back from that person in 2 to 3 days. And I think that really falls in your executive leadership team, right? Because for people that are billable on site, that's really customer driven. But for your leadership team, it's going to be, I need to figure out how you work so we can work together. And that's how I think that's really how I lead with all situations, right? Both personal and business.
All right, so let me say it back to you and then ask you a question. And I haven't done this before. This is a new one. Let me try it. So you are patiently aggressive. You're a roll up your sleeves kind of guy. You're relaxed, but you trust but verify. And you do a pretty good job understanding kind of priority based planning. You don't like just because you give someone something, you recognize it doesn't have to be done today, even though if that's your personality. Those are all good things. What's a bad thing? You know, like what's a thing that you're like, it's not my strength. It's not my thing.
Yeah, I hate when people ask questions about things that they should know. Right. If you've been doing, this is a perfect example. One of my pet peeves is people that interview, they list, technology folks, tech folks, they'll list all these technologies out on their resume. And I'll be like, hey, VMware? Well, explain this. And they stumble around the question, but it says here that you're an expert at doing this thing and you can't answer a basic level question, right? Or you go, if you're checking, if you go, hey, do you want it done this particular way? That's fine. But if you keep asking me questions about things that you should know based off of your position and experience, it really bothers me. That really bothers me. And a failure of mine is not knowing really how to respond to that other than with anger, right? And say, hey, like, you should know how to do this. This is ridiculous. Fix this. That to me can piss me off really fast.